Emilia Morcanti. I am a high school teacher. This lesson is about relative clauses. It is for first year baccalaureate students, all three. Let's start. I'd like you to look at the following picture. What do you see here? There are 4 boys sitting in the garden. Let's look at the following sentence. The boy is my son. Does this sentence tell you which boy I'm talking about? No, it doesn't. Let's read the next sentence. The boy whose t-shirt is yellow is my son. Now I guess it's clear which boy I'm talking about. I'm talking about that boy, because he is the only one wearing a yellow t-shirt in the picture. So whose t-shirt is yellow is a relative clause that defines the boy. It gives us information about him. A relative clause is a part of a sentence that gives information about the noun or sentence it refers to. And there are 2 kinds of relative clauses, defining and non-defining relative clauses. We also call them restrictive and non-restrictive relative clauses. A defining relative clause gives us essential information to the meaning of the main clause. For example, I like the woman who lives next door. Who lives next door is really very important in the sentence because it tells us which woman I'm talking about. A non-defining relative clause gives us extra and additional information to the main clause. For example, Bernard Shaw, who is a linguist, wrote Pygmalion. Who is a linguist does not define Bernard Shaw. It just gives us more information about him. If we remove this clause from the sentence and we just keep Bernard Shaw wrote Pygmalion, the sentence will be still meaningful. And don't forget, whenever you have a non-defining relative clause, you have to write commas. Now I'd like you to look at the following picture. Let's read the sentence. The girl whose eyes are green is my daughter. Is this a defining or non-defining relative clause? It is a non-defining relative clause. Because if I omit the clause whose eyes are green from the sentence and I just keep the girl is my daughter, you still know which girl I'm talking about because we have just one girl in the picture. So relative clauses can be introduced by relative pronouns, relative adverbs, or none of them. The relative pronouns are who, which, that, and whose. Who refers to people and it is a subject and an object pronoun. For example, Mr. Thompson, who is 70, has just retired. So here, who refers to Mr. Thompson. Who refers also to people, but it is just an object pronoun. For example, this is George, whom you met at our house last year. So, whom refers to George. Which refers to things and a whole sentence. For example, the book which you gave me is interesting. So, book is a thing and which refers to it. In the second sentence, we have, I met Rebecca yesterday, which was a nice surprise. So here, which refers to the whole sentence, the fact of meeting Rebecca yesterday. That refers to people and things. For example, I bought a new car that is very fast. Okay, so here that refers to car. And whose refers to a possession. For example, the little girl whose doll was lost is sad. So whose here we're talking about the girl's doll. Now let's do the following exercise. I'd like you to fill in the blanks with the right relative pronoun. Who, that, or which. Let's start with the first sentence. That's Mr. Edison. Son works as an engineer. So here we're talking about the son of Mr. Edison. So we need a possessive relative pronoun. So the right answer is whose. Number 2. The woman entered the room is Mrs. Smith. Here the woman is a person and we need a subject pronoun. So the right answer is who or that. Next, this is my neighbor. I like and respect. Neighbor is also a person. So we need a relative pronoun that refers to people or a person. And the right answer is who or that. So the 3 possibilities are correct here. And then we have the boat is sailing is really big. The boat is a thing, so the relative pronoun that we have to use here is which or that. So the words unsuccessful is disappointing. Here we need a relative pronoun that refers to the whole sentence. And the right answer is which. Now let's move to the relative adverbs. We have when, which refers to time, where refers to place, and why refers to reason. Let's look at the following picture. That's the shop we bought the souvenir. So the shop is a place, and the right relative adverb that we're going to use here is where. So here we have a man leaving and carrying with him a luggage. The sentence is the reason he left is unknown. So whenever we talk about the reason, we use the relative adverb why. Spring is a season, flowers bloom. So season refers to time, so we're going to use when as a relative adverb. And here, that's the neighborhood I grew up. So neighborhood is a place, so we're going to use where as a relative adverb. Now let's do the following exercise. Match the numbers with the letters to form a correct sentence. And I'd like you to find the second part of the sentence. Let's start with the first sentence. We have he wore a mask. A mask is a thing. So the relative pronoun that we need here is which. So the right answer is B. He wore a mask which made him look like Mickey Mouse. Number 2, this is the station. The station is a place, okay? So we need here a relative adverb, which is where. And the right answer is, this is the station where Emily met James. Number 3, the people, okay? So here we need a relative pronoun that refers to a person. And it must be a subject pronoun. So the right answer is C. The people who were in the party left late. Number 4, August is the month. Here month is a time. Okay, so we're going to use the relative adverb when, and the right answer is E. August is the month when most people go on holiday. 5, do you know the reason? So whenever we have reason, we use the relative adverb why. So, do you know the reason? The right answer is F. Why so many people in the world learn English? And finally, 6, that's the last sentence left. The book whose cover is green is interesting. We used here whose because we're talking about the cover of the book. So we need a possessive relative pronoun. Now I'd like you to study the following situations and then decide whether the following relative clauses are defining or non-defining. Don't forget, we don't use commas with defining relative clauses, and we must use commas with non-defining ones. Let's see the first situation. I have 3 brothers. So the sentence is, my brother who lives in Sydney came to see me last month. Is it a defining or non-defining relative clause? Of course, we need here a defining relative clause because I have 3 brothers. So I must say which brother I'm talking about. So the right answer is the first answer. I have 1 sister. The sentence is, my sister who is 25 years old spent her holiday in France. Who is 25 years old is a relative clause. Is it a defining or non-defining? Since I have just 1 sister, so this information is just additional to the main clause. If I omit who is 25 years old and I just say my sister spent her holiday in France, you still know which sister I'm talking about since I have just 1. So the right answer is the second one. Number 3, Bob's mom has lost her keys. The sentence is, Bob's mom, who is a musician, has lost her car keys. So here it is what? So what do you think? Defining or non-defining? Of course, it is a non-defining relative clause because Bob has just 1 mother. Okay? So the right answer is the second one. Number 4, my friend Jane moved to Canada. The sentence is, my friend Jane, whose husband is Canadian, moved to Canada last week. So whose husband is Canadian? Is it defining or non-defining? Since I mentioned the name of my friend Jane, okay, so I know which person I'm talking about. So in this case, this clause is a non-defining one. And the right answer is the second one. Now I'd like you to combine the two sentences by using a suitable relative pronoun and or adverb. Number 1, I really like the boss, his management style is successful. So here we're talking about the management style of the boss. So we need a possessive relative pronoun. And the answer is, I really like the boss whose management style is successful. Number 2, I don't know the reason. The reason Bushra is often alone. The word repeated here in both sentences is the reason. So the relative adverb that we're going to use is why. And the answer is, I don't know the reason why Bushra is often alone. Number 3, Mr. Nadfi is retiring next December. Mr. Nadfi is 60 years old. So here, Mr. Nadfi is repeated in both sentences, and we're going to use a relative pronoun that refers to a person. And that relative pronoun must be a subject pronoun. So, Mr. Nadfi, who is 60 years old, is retiring next December. Here, don't forget to write commas, because this is a non-defining relative clause, since we have the name. Who is 60 years old just gives us more information about Mr. Nadfi. Number 4, the time was late. The time you called me last Friday. Okay, so here we have time. So the relative adverb that we're going to use is when. The time when you called me last Friday was late. 5, the house was renovated. We live in that house. The house is a place, so we're going to use the relative adverb where. The house where we live was renovated. Number 6, I received the email. The email was about the advertising campaign. So the email is a thing, so we're going to use which as a relative pronoun. We can also use that because this is a defining relative clause. I received the email, which or that was about the advertising campaign. So these are the references that I used in my lesson. Thank you very much for watching, and please keep safe and stay at home. Goodbye.